Why? Why? I've been wanting to do this episode for quite some time, and I've been wanting to answer the question, why? Why did I start this YouTube channel? Why did I start creating these videos on personal finance? And here's the story. It all started out a little bit like this, a little bit more of a... It all started out a little bit more like this, a conversation between you and me, over some beverages, over some beers with my cousins. Something you guys probably don't know. While I currently live in Chicago, and I was born in Chicago, I actually grew up in Houston, Texas. The majority of my cousins still live in Houston, Texas. And so whenever I would go down, you know, we'd get together at a bar and over drinks, we'd just chat about life, about how are things going, family life, you know, the typical stuff. Inevitably, our conversations would kind of circle back to this area of finance, and you know, because they knew that I had a background in finance, the questions would come to me. But nevertheless, I mean, I was able to answer them, and I was happy to answer them, and I was so excited because I felt like the kinds of questions they were asking, the kinds of information that I was able to give them, or advice that I was able to give them, would help them out in their personal lives. That got me thinking, like, oh my gosh, like how many other folks, or how many other cousins or friends or neighbors who have these conversations but don't really have somebody who knows this stuff, and they would love to be able to bounce these ideas off of. And I can relate personally, because for me, I'm an only child with a single parent, so I only had my mom. She cleaned houses for a living, and so I could go to her for these kinds of questions. I think an insight that also happened while I was having these beers, these drinks with my cousins, is that I knew that the way that I had to answer the questions was not the way that I learned them. I just couldn't answer them the same way that they were taught to me, which was, you know, here's a book, go read it. Helps explain like why I do try to infuse some music that is reflective of my upbringing. I understand that's not everybody's upbringing, and some of those cultural references, particularly to movies and that kind of stuff, to help communicate the message or communicate these ideas. I'm so excited to make these videos for strivers, what I call strivers. I'm so excited to make this series of videos, not exactly sure what to call this, but whatever, this thing, for folks who are striving. So people who are probably first generation, either going to college or that first generation in your family who is just like trying to break out of whatever the status quo is. In my case, like my mom cleaned houses, there's nothing wrong with that. And if you want to clean houses, vaya con Dios. Baby, it's all good. But if that's not what you want to do, and that's not what I want to do, like, here's a way to try and explore different avenues, try and explore different ways on how to do things. I just remember having this conversation with some of my nieces. Imagine this is a menu, and if you only get shown like the little teeny tiny menu, like the appetizers, but you're missing out on, you know, the full menu, like, how are you possibly going to make the best decision for yourself? And so part of what I'm also trying to do is like show you the fuller menu of things and careers and different paths that you could take, so that I would hope that you would feel that you are empowered. I would hope that you would feel that you are in charge of your life and truly moving your life in the direction that you want to go. And but if all you're shown is just, you know, cleaning houses or mowing lawns, like, that feels limiting. That felt limiting to me. And I have to also just admit and just put out there that I was incredibly lucky that I am where I am today, because there were folks, tons of people, teachers, mentors, some older students who came in my life and helped to show me, like, hey, actually, Eddie, you may want to consider this instead of just this. So anyways, I know growing up, I wish I had somebody that I could go to and talk to and ask these questions to. And so I figured, if I know that I'm not the only one, clearly there must be a lot more of the folks who feel this way and think this way. And sadly, I have to say that while I have a lot more answers now, I had to learn a lot of this stuff the hard way, unfortunately, which means that I took some serious lumps, like painful lessons. The hard lesson that I learned is that I paid way too much for undergrad. Grateful for my education, but from a money standpoint, I wish I would have approached it differently. Lesson number 2. So now that I was stuck with these loans, I felt trapped in a way because I had to find jobs that would pay X amount of money. Like I didn't have flexibility, like I couldn't earn below a certain dollar amount. I was a bit of a money chaser, and that's also not great because I had a headhunter that found me, and that sounds really bad, doesn't it? It's basically a headhunter is someone who works for businesses to try to find talent to come to their business. So think of it like a talent agent, I guess, right? So they find you, they get referrals from other employees and stuff like that. One got a hold of my contact information, called me, said he had availability at another bank for a good chunk of more money than I was currently making, and because of my student loans and because of my responsibilities for my mom, that was really appealing. Didn't think much about it, took the job, went there, and have to say that while I did get paid more money, there were some other factors that, again, had I known then what I know now, like I would have been a lot more judicious before I would have taken that jump. Just the working conditions just really sucked. So I felt trapped in that job because I had to make a certain amount of money, and I didn't want to go to another place that, even though they might treat me better, the concern was that I wouldn't be able to make the similar kind of income. Eventually got over it, got through it, and I'll spare you the details for right now, but suffice to say that was a very low point. And another big lesson that I had growing up was I was addicted to retail therapy. I was addicted to retail therapy, or I should say I'm a recovering spender. I should say I'm a recovering spender. Because I think because I was feeling low, I would justify going out to eat dinner, or I would stay late at work, and so I would, you know, get dinner out and then come back to my office and that kind of stuff. And unfortunately, that's a very expensive way to live, is what I'm trying to say. Had I not been spending as much as I did, I would have saved a lot more money, and I could have put it toward other stuff. But anyways, what I want to share with you, and why I'm doing this and why I want to continue to do this, is because I want to share with you some of the basic fundamental principles that I've learned through a lot of my own personal research, a lot of things I had to figure out the hard way, through a lot of, like I said, my own education. I did a lot of reading, and so if I can give you the Cliff Notes versions, you don't have to go through the same pain or agony that I had to go through. I know for myself I would have benefited from that growing up, and I want others to be able to benefit from that so that you don't have to go through that pain that I went through. Like, it's unnecessary. Like, if you can avoid what I did, please don't do my stupid stuff. Please don't do that. As I mentioned, like, this is definitely not a get rich quick, so that's probably not sexy, and it might turn some folks off, but that's fine. You want get rich quick, there's probably tons of other stuff out there, and I get it. But what I'm trying to share with you are ways in which you have a higher probability of being able to actually accomplish or attain your financial goals. And so that's what I'm planning on focusing and working on here. I want you to succeed. I want you to succeed with me. Like, I haven't quite reached the promised land. I certainly have some financial goals that I would like to be able to reach. I'm going in the trajectory of which I want to go. And I want you to also be able to go in the trajectory, go in the direction that you want to reach financially for yourself. And I'd love you to come along with me. Come along on this journey with me. It's lonely, at least it was for me. I mean, granted, I'm an only child, and granted, I have a single parent, but I hope that you will find these videos helpful. I want you, the striver, to be able to strive with me and go into the direction that you want to go, and let's make this happen.
hago siempre lo que quiero y mi